welcome to the RedMars podcast. I'm your host, AstroJake, and it has been a while since I've done a video podcast. Now, I've had a couple, or maybe three, podcasts that I've done recently that have been audio-only ones, where you may have heard that I got my ham radio license, and since then I've actually upgraded my license now to the general class radio license. So start at the, not operators, the technician license, and then I've gone to the general class license, and then the next one would be the amateur extra. Haven't gone for that one just yet. Have started some of my studying, but got some really busy stuff going on at work right now, and I just have not had the time to really put in the amount of focus that I really need to ensure that I will do well on the exam. So doing myself a favor and taking my time to go through that and really learning what there is to do with the amateur radio license that I have, and it's been a lot of fun. So today I want to talk through some news that's going on. There's been some big news lately, good and bad, and really we'll get into that. And then I'm going to talk about some stuff to do with building your own radios and kind of the cool open source platforms that exist, and talk through just really some of the radios that I've come across that I've purchased. And I have mentioned as well some stuff with the Zygo G90. I still have it. Hasn't been turned on yet since I've gotten it. Again, really busy, but I am building out my kind of Go box in kind of a SHTF style, which has been a lot of fun. I've been playing around with my own antennas as well, which I got one here, if you guys can see that. This is just some fun I've been having. I have a VNA, and for those of you that don't know what that is, we can talk about it, but more or less it's for analyzing the performance of my antennas that I'm working on. And just been having some fun with that. And also going to talk about some mobile platforms and what that looks like, and the different types of protocols that you can use to do some mobile radio or on the go for research. And I'm actually looking at doing some research in this area, and who knows, maybe I will write a paper on it that you all can read sometime soon. Anyways, so let's get started with today's first topic, and that's space news. It's going to be a brief one, quick one, but I just want to kind of touch on it. So I'm sharing with you and those that are listening to the audio-only version of this. You may have heard the news if you're in touch with what's going on in space right now, but SpaceX might be having their contract up for grabs for Artemis III. This is interesting. They've had actually some very good wins lately with their Starship, and so I was a little surprised when I saw this, but it is an ambitious program, an ambitious timeline, and space is hard. It's not easy to get to the moon, especially bring humans back. So there's a lot that needs to happen, a lot of things that need to fall in place, especially when you're working as a contractor for the government. You know, there's some things that come along with that as well. And it's just been interesting to see. So apparently their contract may be open up for renegotiation, or maybe that's not the best term, but the contest for it will be reopened, meaning other companies can then propose their solutions to supply a launch vehicle and means to get humans back to the moon for that Artemis III mission. Now, I don't think the timeline's really changing, so it should be pretty interesting. But I have an article here that I think came out a couple days ago, and pretty much just talking about how they were originally awarded a contract for, what is this, $2.9 billion to provide the first crewed lunar lander mission for the Artemis program. And this was in all fashion of SpaceX, their Starship. Now, the Starship is planned to be used for many other things, not just going back to the moon. Elon Musk has proposed this solution to bring humans to Mars and beyond, and use it as a refueler and all kinds of things. And in my personal opinion, when you build a one-size-fits-all spacecraft to do some of these things, it gets really complex really quickly. And while they have been doing tons of launches, which in the public eye, is fantastic, it's entertaining, you get to see this and gets a lot of funding, we don't have insights into the underlying technology that is supposed to be built out for those human systems inside the Starship, such as Eclipse. Now, there's a lot that has to happen for this to be successful, and many companies approach this in different ways. In this sense, for SpaceX, based on what we've been able to see in the public eye, they have started with providing a orbital spacecraft, and they have been successful in this most recently, being able to put a spacecraft into orbit and safely return it down. Safely in quotes, because there's no humans on board, and in order for something to be human rated or safe. There's a lot of other boxes that need to be checked out, or more so than just bringing the thing back and having it land. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. And based on what we are reading, it sounds like those underlying systems just aren't up to the satisfactory of NASA. That being said, somebody like Elon can probably go ahead and just build what they want anyways and go to the moon on their own. So definitely, even if they lose the contract for Artemis, I have no doubt that they will still be pressing on and going on their own mission. Now, will that mean they need funding from elsewhere? Yeah, probably. But as we have seen in Elon fashion, they have many other creative ways of getting funding and making things happen. So it will definitely not be the last of them, but a very interesting piece of space news that has been most recent that I wanted to share with everybody. All right, moving on. And again, I'm kind of going through this a bit quick because I don't want to have a super long podcast. As the first one on it, I just want to share some key points on what's been going on. So there's something, and I guess I'll start with Meshtastic, something called Meshtastic. And it is very cool, and as it says on the screen, an open-source, off-grid, decentralized mesh network built to run on affordable, low-power devices. Now, I have a great example of one of these right here. Now, this little guy, let me see if you can see that. This is a Meshtastic device. So this is from Heltec. It's a very cool little device. Inside you have, and you can kind of see, I guess, because it's kind of transparent. There's a battery. In the bottom portion here, you have an ESP32 as the main board, a small little OLED display, and if I push this button here, you'll see the screen turn on. There's not a whole lot on there. You can go between screens. This just says no GPS lock. You got to keep it on for some time. I'm indoors as well, so it probably won't pick up a satellite too well. Yeah, it says no sats right now. Anyways, little board. The purpose of this, it's got a GPS unit, onboard battery. It's low power, so lasts a long time. Little antenna here for the LoRa, and that's a 915 megahertz transceiver. So send and transmit, or send and receive. Sorry, little device here, and what it does is provides, again, a off-grid decentralized mesh network. Now you can send messages to and from these devices. You can have yourself show up on a map. You can record your GPS location as you make your way around wherever you're making your way around. And it's a really cool little device. But you may ask, why would you want something like this? Now, not everybody really has a use case for this. Some people do. And if you're somebody like myself that not really prepper, but likes to, be prepared. I live in Florida. Here we have hurricanes and stuff like that. And if a hurricane were to come through and wipe out infrastructure here, or phone services are down, having some of these nodes, throughout the area and other individuals that you may want to communicate with, you can do that with these devices without the need of cell towers, internet, or anything like that. This mesh network, mesh meaning multiple nodes all communicating with each other, kind of like a net, and wherever a net crosses, like on a basketball net, that would be a node. And so they all communicate with each other to relay information, which allows you to send these messages to and from, report your location, and whatnot. Now, there's a cool app on your phone, and I can show you this. Let me pull it up, called Meshtastic, which follows the same thing. And once this comes up, I will show you. So it shows my node on here as connected. There you go, receiving node 1, and it'll give you all the stuff on there. So on here it says RedMars radio. I can pull up a map. I will not show you that, but it will give the location of the node, and then it'll show you all the other nodes that are around you. Right now it's just me, but I plan on getting other nodes and doing some experimenting with these and having a lot of fun. But there's this message tabs, and pretty much if you see other nodes around you, you can send them messages and they'll receive it in their queue, and you can have encrypted communications. Now the cool thing about Meshtastic is it also allows for licensed radio operators, so amateur radio, so that would be your technicians, your general class, or amateur extra. If you have one of those licenses, you can put your call sign in here, but that does mean it will change to a unencrypted communications, because if you have your license, you cannot do encrypted communications over certain bands, really any of the ham bands. Now, the 915 megahertz is one that you can, because it is not used for amateur radio. It is for these types of devices. If you are doing Meshtastic over that, you're going to use the UHF VHF, which is similar to your HTs, your handy talkies, And these will go over UHF, VHF, and you can do the same Meshtastic stuff over those bands. Now, there are specific frequencies that you would send and receive on for that, but typically it's just used for research and development. Everybody really stays in the unlicensed just for that off-grid capability. So it's a really cool thing and very cheap. Like this one here, I think is like $40, something like that. I got this part of a Vine program through Amazon, but they are low cost, and you can build your own if you get an ESP32 and the device or the other add-ons or peripherals that you need, like a GPS and your low range or long range little device there. I think you'll need like an SX 1726 is one of them that you can use for the component type. You can do a search online. It'll give you a list of parts that you need to build one of these. You can do it for under $50. Some of them you can even do for probably around the $30 range if you get some of the cheaper parts there. But you can get into Meshtastic for a pretty good cheap deal. So that's all I wanted to share on that. It's a cool way to get into the space. You don't even need a ham radio license to operate with it and get into some of that fun. Now, this brings me to the next part of the conversation that I wanted to talk about, and really talk about all these other radios that I have come up with. I don't even really see them in the background on my shelf over there, but I have this one here. This is a UV32 from Baofeng. I also have, I got two of these in my little kit. I also have a UV25. I have a UV17. I have a couple UV5R minis, and if you watch the Ham Radio Crash Course, he has done a lot lately on these UV5R minis, which are awesome little radios. If you want more information on those, I actually recommend watching some of his videos. He goes right in depth, goes through testing and kind of his ups and downs of his testing to show kind of what went well and what didn't, and even how your equipment on what you're testing these things with can make a huge difference on the actual reliability of your tests. So definitely encourage checking him out, Ham Radio Crash Course. And yeah, great videos. But back to these radios. The one that I got most recently was the UV32 here, but I have a DM32 UV as well. And that's the one that I kind of want to talk about because it says it is APRS capable. And the DM is DMR, which is the digital version of ham radio. So not just going analog as you're using your radio to radio, but there is this digital world that exists for ham radio as well, which you can go through digi-repeaters and that, and then go onto the internet, and allows you to be part of these larger talk groups and talk globally where you might not be able to typically anyway. So with a HF radio like my Zygo G90, I can talk longer range in the lower frequency bands or longer band waveforms. And bounce off like the ionosphere and that allows you to get those longer range communications. But typically with the UHF or VHF radio, you don't get the same distance. You might get, 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers, something like that. I know some of them say, 50 kilometers. Yeah, sure, straight line of sight. You live in a city, it's a lot more difficult. So you have these repeaters that help you get farther distances and reach that. But when you take that signal, go through a digi-repeater, read the data, and put it onto the internet, then you can have that internet broadcast to have other repeaters then send it out and whatnot. But you can be part of talk groups, all kind of stuff. It's awesome. I'm still learning. If I butchered it, I apologize. But with that, APRS. So what is it? So APRS is the Automatic Packet Reporting System. So it is used all over the U.S. Here's kind of like a little heat map showing of all the kind of connections that it's used on here in the U.S. And it is not just used in the U.S. It is used globally, which means you can join in on talk groups all over the place. And it's a really cool system that's not just used for amateur guys like us, but it is used in space as well and reporting telemetry from spacecraft. Here's a good point here. APRS is not a vehicle tracking system. That is correct. Can it report your location while you're in a vehicle moving? Yes, it can, but that is not what it is. So we'll read through this just quickly just to give it better, because I'll butcher it if I try to say it myself. So it is a two-way tactical, real-time digital communication system between all assets in a network sharing information about everything going on in the local area. On ham radio, this means if something is happening now or there is information that could be valuable to you, then it should show up on your APRS radio in your mobile. So, see, typical oversights. And here my talk on October 8th, rain report, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. So this is APRS.org, really has all the information you need here. But this goes through everything. And some good diagrams here, shows you how it works. And yeah, so the cool thing about this is I got a radio with APRS. Oh, here we go. John Glenn meets, it's hard to see, something set, Space Day 2002. And again, as I mentioned, they use it. It is really cool. The Army Navy use it. The NASA Space Administration, they use it. All kinds of systems are using this. So yeah, via satellites. Overall, A-stars and APRS satellites. So that's cool because it bridges my world that I'm more recently involved with, being ham radio and learning about, and what I do for a job with the space community, and kind of brings those two things together. So it really got me thinking. And one of the cool parts about this is, I guess I'll start with a downfall with my radio, the DM32UV, is that it requires me to have an internet connection as I am driving in order to actually really use APRS, because it's digital mode. It is going to say something like a hotspot, which would be, say, a tethered Raspberry Pi or ESP32 or something like that. It's tethered to my phone, using my phone's internet to take the information from my radio and put it onto the internet through APRS. Now, that's cool. A lot of people do this. It is a neat way of doing it. I want to go and kick it old school because I feel like there's a lot more research that can be done in this area, and that is taking really any radio and having a TNC. That is a terminal node controller. And this is a device, and I'll just read from this one here because, again, if I try to say it in my own words, I'll probably butcher it because I am still learning as I go. But a TNC is a device used by amateur radio operators to participate in AX.25 packet radio networks. APRS is one of these. It is similar in function to packet disassemblers used on the X25 networks, with the addition of a modem to convert baseband digital signals to audio tones. So what you do is you take this TNC device and you'll connect it to your radio through your headphone jack and your mic jack that is in the side here of the radio, which you can kind of see. There's a little flap here that comes down and you can connect to. Also used to program a lot of these devices through those two, but you would connect these two in. So you have your audio out and your audio in passing through this terminal node controller, which then takes the audio tones coming in, converts them into digital signals so that you can decode the packets that you are receiving over your ham radio, make sense of them, reply to them in some way, and then you can then send your own packets back out on the network. And this is cool because now you can, without having a hotspot in your vehicle, go and broadcast those tones out over your ham radio to digi-repeaters that then will take care of the adding your information onto the internet. So you can go and talk with talk groups and everything like that while mobile and not need to use up your phone's hotspot or anything like that, or have a mobile hotspot in your vehicle. You can just do it all through your ham radio. So that is what I'm looking to do. So I'm probably going to use a Raspberry Pi. I'm going to look at some other options and see what I got. But I think a Raspberry Pi with a USB audio card is probably my best bet. And then I can go through, connect it to here, and I'm going to have some fun with this. I have some ideas where I can bridge my undergrad through computer science and cybersecurity with this. Now, obviously, I can't encrypt anything because I'm not able to do that over it, but I can come up with some other cool technologies and practices we use in computer science. I'm planning to apply them to a terminal node controller for the purpose of APRS communications, and we'll have some fun with that. And that's without going too much into detail until I get a bit farther. That's probably what I'm going to do. Not probably. That's what I'm going to do research on. And my plan is to possibly write a paper on this, something I can go to like an IEEE conference and talk through my findings and research that I found with the ham radio community and how it can benefit and pretty much build more reliable communications across this type of network. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. So, yeah, APRS. We have, terminal node controllers, Meshtastic. Crazy things going on in the space community right now. A lot of fun stuff. And yeah, going to the moon. So with that, that's probably all I want to talk about today without getting too much into detail. I do want to go through all the different radios I have, probably do that in a different podcast here, because they could probably fill up a whole time on its own as I talk through all the different Baofeng. And I sound like a Baofeng sponsor. I'm not. But I have a lot of Baofeng radios because they are cheap and come with a lot of features. I do have a TID radio as well. I got one of those recently, so we'll definitely want to talk about that one also. And maybe I'll do an episode of building my own little Meshtastic out of some cheaper components rather than an all-in-one kit, and how you can piece together your own. A lot of fun with these things. Enjoy it, especially if you like to tinker around. It's a really simple way to get into this space and learn both hardware, software, and the ham radio community. So looking forward to talking more about that. But with that, that's all I got for everyone today. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget, like, follow, subscribe, and follow along on these talks, because we got a lot of cool stuff coming, a lot of big things coming as well. And hopefully I can talk a bit more about my work that I have been doing. I will be going to Houston soon for a couple weeks. That will bring me to Johnson Space Center, where I got a lot of fun work going on there as well. So once I get through some of that, I'll hopefully be able to share some of that with you folks, and some pictures and videos to go along with that for those that like to watch this on YouTube. So again, with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, definitely smash that like button. And again, follow, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one. Take care, everybody, and enjoy your day.